it from here. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We've got a interesting agenda for you today. That's, as Zach mentioned, how to make your content go viral with paid promotion. First, just talk a little bit why you should care about it, and we're going to do a kind of a deep dive into the various promotional options available from some of the biggest venues on the planet, including Google Display Network, YouTube, Google+, and others. Before jumping into all the details of these content promotion venues, I thought it would be helpful to just get a sense for who's on the call today. And to do this, we just have a simple poll question. Zach, are you able to launch the poll for us there? It's just, how long have you been doing paid PPC marketing? Maybe never at all. Like maybe your job is to do like content creation or something like that. 1 to 6 months, 6 months to a year, 1 to 3 years, or over 3 years. I'd just be curious to see how long have people been actually working with PPC marketing. So how are we doing with the responses there, Zach?
It looks like we're good, Larry. Maybe just give them an extra 10 seconds here. And it looks like 1 to 6 months is the most popular of the selections so far.
Great. Go ahead.
Followed by never, not my job function. So possibly some content marketers in the crowd.
Awesome. That's great. Can we close the poll then and go back to the screen? Okay, so then, yes, this is actually a webinar on paid social promotion. Some content marketers that I know might call this heresy. So, we're sharing some crazy ideas today, including the idea that, paid social promotion should be an integral part of sort of just content marketing in general. Like I was saying earlier, why don't we start with sort of the case for content promotion and why should you care? Well, it seems to me that a lot of us are spending tons of time and effort, and that's not free, and it takes a lot of time to produce these articles. So I was just doing some analysis on my own blog, the WordStream blog, www.wordstream.com/blog, and this is very typical. What you see is like the average, sort of the median article. Like we produce 300 to 400 articles per year. And the typical article for WordStream's blog does maybe 100 to 200 shares typically, but 5% of them do spectacularly well, like 10, 20, or even 50 times better than the average. And so the idea here is that it's the results sometimes isn't really proportional to the effort. It has more to do with like other factors like random factors like luck or just you really nailed a great title, and the idea here is just that if you're spending so much time on creating so many articles, maybe it might make sense to promote them so that you had more of these winners, these spectacular, the top 5% of your articles generating 50% of the shares on social media. So you could spend an entire webinar talking about like how does content go viral. We've done a lot of analysis here internally, and we came up with so many factors. Like it has to do with like an unusual result, kind of original data, trending topic. But even then, it's not an exact science. Sometimes what we find is stuff goes viral kind of randomly. And I'll just give you a couple examples of this. We had published some kind of research about how Google makes money from like what industries, and it was doing okay, but it didn't really take off until this guy Tim O'Reilly. Maybe you've heard of him. He's kind of a very popular guy. He's got 3 million followers on Google+. Somehow he found out about this article. He shared it to his audience, and that really kind of created this domino effect where it just got shared and shared and shared, and sometimes it's truly random. I have no idea to this day how he found out about that article, and definitely there's this kind of domino effect of of content promotion, where you have an article that gets written up in one publication, and then that kind of causes another publication to take notice, and bigger publications start seeing this. This is just a diagram that we created, kind of illustrating one of our recent blog posts that did very well. You can see, just starting with some smaller sites, going to bigger sites, etc. And there's this domino effect of where, someone notices it, and that just has these ripples. And so, I'm not suggesting that you can make all of your articles go viral. Like it's no matter how much promotion or paid promotion you do to your article, I would expect to see sort of a similar shape in terms of like how many, like what do articles do. But could you make it so that on average the typical article did better with paid promotion? Absolutely. You could absolutely raise sort of the average level of shares per article with paid promotion, because paid promotion will kind of bolster your social presence, and increase the visibility, and have all sorts of nice secondary effects. And the other thing that it can do is you can make it so that articles that were kind of on the cusp of becoming viral, like that just came very close but didn't quite escape into the stratosphere of like number of shares on social media. Is it possible with a little extra push, could some of those, articles that generate a few hundred shares be pushed into a few thousand shares? Absolutely. We see this all happen all the time, where we take kind of an old article and we give it a little bit of a nudge, and then it does much better. So that's just kind of just level setting, sort of in terms of like the case for doing content promotion on paid channels. It can raise the average number of engagement per post, as well as kind of improve the articles that were just pretty good, but didn't yet go viral. They could do much better. And so when it comes to social paid promotion, or just promotion for the content that you're producing, I think the place to start here is actually content remarketing, because that's sort of the low-hanging fruit. I mean, there's so many people out there that, and you've got a very limited amount of money that you can spend on paid promotion. You want to kind of prioritize and make sure that you're targeting sort of the right people. And so rather than just going after, everybody in the world who's interested in whatever it is that you're doing, the low-hanging fruit of content promotion is actually remarketing, or also known as retargeting. What? Just hold the thought here, we're having some technical difficulties. Organizers, I'm just getting some comments saying that they can't hear me. Is there any, can someone just let me know if audience, if you can hear me, please type something into the chat box, please. Hello?
Everything looks all set on our end, Larry. Okay, look, we're getting lots of comments that are positive that can hear you here.
Okay, great. So just talking about the low-hanging fruit of paid content promotion is going after the people who've previously read your content, like people who've previously read your website blog, because rather than going after everybody, you'd be better off just prioritizing fans. Like, they're the ones who's going to be more likely to read and share your stuff. Other reasons why you might want to consider remarketing, also known as retargeting, your content. Well, it's definitely an alternative to email. So, like if you're like me, where you have a company that creates multiple blog posts per day, numerous, like a lot of content here being produced, we can't blast that out to our email address like every day, because that's just too many articles, and that will just result in unsubscribes and list burnout. And additionally, I'm sure if everyone here has ever managed a Facebook page, I'm sure you've seen your organic post reach fall to like low single digits, and it seems to keep falling every month. So this could be just a simple way, a very leveraged way to kind of bolster some of those numbers. And so, for people who've never heard of remarketing, basically a quick primer, all it is it's just you tag people who visited your website with a cookie, and then you get in front of them with banner ads as they're doing their business, elsewhere on the web, like checking their email, reading the news on CNN, or watching a cat video on YouTube. You can get your ads in front of them to sort of entice them to come back to your site and sort of finish, whatever it was you wanted them to do, whether it be sharing your content, signing up for your offers, buying your product, etc. So I think there's a strong argument to be made for all content marketers or inbound marketers to be concerned about this idea of content remarketing and how it can bolster the engagement and the overall effectiveness of your content marketing efforts. So we're going to talk about different networks now. We're going to start with the Google Display Network, but broadly speaking, sort of the concepts that we're talking here are applicable to various venues, including Facebook, Twitter, etc. So conceptually they're similar, but let's just start with Google Display Network. Why? Because it's the biggest. The Google Display Network is a network of over 2 million websites on the planet, including pretty much every website that you could ever imagine, like LinkedIn, CNN, Weather Channel, etc., with the notable exception of Facebook. We'll talk about Facebook in just a minute. It also includes fairly large Google properties like YouTube and Gmail, which happen to be like the number 2 and number 3 like biggest websites in the world. And it also even includes these something called AdMob, which is a network of mobile apps. So, like, for example, if you wanted to get your message to people while they were playing Angry Birds on their mobile phone, you could actually do that through the Google Display Network. It's really vast and very expansive. And of course, the benefit of kind of prioritizing a large network has to do with the reach of that network. So across the Google Display Network, because they partner with so many different mobile apps and websites like Gmail and YouTube and CNN, you can on average, like the people that you tag on your website, 84% of them you could expect to reconnect with within any given month, multiple times per month, and across numerous different sites. So let's just talk a little bit about some of the concepts here of content remarketing. And one of the first things that you need to do here is create something called an audience. So I mean, on one hand, you could target everyone who visited your website, but the problem with that is that it's too broad and too specific. Like, you think of your own blog. You might have multiple topics. Like, you might be blogging about, I don't know, SEO or paid search or social media marketing. And so, because you have so many different categories of content on your site, it might make sense to have segment those visitors into different categories of users, so that you could message differently to different people depending on what interests they've expressed on your website. Another reason for doing these audiences has to do with a bid strategy, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But essentially, the idea here is simply that there could be higher value content on your pages, like some kind of pricing page, or some kind of a white paper about your business, which is higher value than some cat memes on your site. If you don't segment them into different audiences, it's not possible to kind of bid differentially, like bid more money, more value for the high value audience, and less money for the low value audience. So creating an audience, it's very simple in Google AdWords. It's just a matter of if you already have the Google Analytics tag on your website, which is like pretty much everyone. All you need to do at this point is just specify which pages on your site you'd like to include or exclude as part of an audience, and it'll kind of anonymously collect all the people who visited those pages into a pool known as an audience. So One of the key things that you need to do once you've defined these different audiences is you have to decide how long do you keep people captive in an audience, meaning how long will you kind of show them your ad before you kind of let them go. So my own audiences for Google Display Network are set to 60 days, meaning if you visit WordStream's website and if I tag you, you can expect to be chased around the internet for 60 days with my ads before, and after 60 days I'll kind of cut you loose, and you don't have to suffer my ads anymore. And so the question that people need to know, like that they ask, is how long should I set that audience membership duration? How long should we be kind of targeting people for? To do this, I did some research here. This is original research originated by WordStream, and what we wanted to see was like, how do ads resonate over time? There's this notion of ad fatigue. Ad fatigue means like, think of your own behavior when you're watching TV and you see an ad the first time and it's kind of funny, and then you see it like 10 times and you're kind of getting bored of it and you tune it out. So ad fatigue is a concept that's kind of across all paid advertising channels. But one of the neat things about retargeting ads is that because they're so targeted, based on your previous browser history, what we see is that the click-through rate or the engagement rates of those ads are much higher than, like, even after someone seeing the ad multiple times, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, much higher than seeing a non-remarketed display ad for the first time. So this is really, really powerful. And here's the same data. I've just normalized it so that you can kind of see the relative decay of the effectiveness of the ad over time. And what you see is that the remarketing ads are kind of fatigue at half the rate of generic display ads. And so I think the key takeaway here, sorry, one other thing here. This is super exciting. I mean, obviously, you would want people to engage with your content, but it would be even cooler if those people who clicked on your ads ended up like filling out some kind of like a contact us form or taking you up on one of the various offers that you promote, like an ebook on your website. And one of the really cool things about remarketing is that the more people see the ad, the higher the conversion. The headline of this graph is incorrect, but the higher the conversion rate for those ads, meaning it's almost like you've beaten them into submission. They've seen the ad 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, and finally they decide, okay, I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to download this marketer's content or whatever your offer is. The key takeaway here is that conversion in rates of clicks increases with more ad impressions. It's like you're building. You're searing kind of like your brand into people's heads and being very relentless. And so the key takeaway here is simply to be bold. When it comes to setting the audience the audience membership duration, I set it for 3 times the average sales cycle. So our sales cycle is something like 2.5 weeks from the first touch to the close of sales. So that's why I set the membership duration for these audiences to be roughly 2 months, thereby capturing 99% of the possible conversions and not leaving anything on the table. And if you're really, really concerned about the ad fatigue and being annoying, one idea is you could run multiple ads within the same campaign, and they will rotate evenly. Okay, so we talked a little bit about audience definition. Now let's talk about creating these content remarketing ads to get your content in front of people. So just starting with the basics, there are 14 different ad formats across the Google Display Network, ranging from these rectangles to squares and skyscrapers, etc. And the reason why I bring this up is because not everyone knows this, but the different ad formats don't compete against each other. Why? Because if you have a square ad, it's not possible for a website to render it into a rectangular shape. And so, at the very least, one of the best practices in terms of creating these great ads has to do with coming up with them in different ad formats. All right. Yeah, so here's the key takeaway. Diversify your ad formats. We did some research try to figure out, how many ads are there of each type on the internet, and then here's kind of the numbers that we came up with. So if you can only do like one or two, then I would prioritize, the ones at the top of the list here. Another kind of interesting fact that you may or may not know about the Google Display Network is that it's a bit of a meritocracy. So it's not just a matter of paying X dollars for clicks or whatever. There's this notion of quality, ad quality. So Google is a pay-per-click network, and so they only get paid if people actually click on the ads. And so therefore it doesn't really make sense for them to show ads that are crap, because that probably means that they're not very relevant to users, and it also means they won't make any money off of it. So the way that Google kind of incentivizes advertisers to not put out crap ads is that they have a variable cost per click, and that variable cost per click is based entirely on the click-through rate of your ads. So meaning if you create ads that people click on 1% of the time that are shown, you will have a very, very cheap cost per click. Conversely, if you have a very, very low click-through rate, you will have a very high cost per click. And so as a rule of thumb, you can think of it this way: for every 0.1% increase in click-through rate, your costs will roughly move up or down by 21%. So huge rewards or huge penalties depending on the click-through rate of your ads. So the takeaway here is that, obviously you should be going for, content ads that have high click-through rates, not low click-through rates, because, even though you're going to be paying for more clicks, the clicks will be substantially cheaper, as much as 400% less. So how the heck do you create an ad that people are going to want to click on? And so the answer is not as hard as you might think. First of all, I would point out that the bar is very low. So 67.5% of the ads that you see when you're surfing the internet on CNN or whatever, 67.5, two-thirds of these ads are just plain text. So this is the stuff created by lazy people, lazy marketers who weren't willing to do the work of creating those image ads. And so Google has created formatted images out of their text ads, and so that's, these don't do very well. So like when I look at the click-through rates of text ads versus image ads, there's a huge difference, almost a 50% difference. So at a very minimum, I would suggest not using kind of text image ads, but rather using true image ads, because they do get a lot more attention. And here's what I'm talking about in terms of the penalties and the rewards. So like the typical cost per click on a text ad is like $2 and change, whereas for an image ad it's less than a quarter. And so whatever you do, don't use those text ads. Make sure that you put a little bit of effort in creating a custom image ad. So now that we've talked a little bit about the formats and sort of the differences between image ads and text ads, let's talk about the content of the ads themselves. I think that's sort of the magic of how this all works. So here's a very clever ad from my colleague and friend Marty Weintraub, who works with a company called AimClear. So it's like 10 Kevlar PPC analyses and processes for a bulletproof account. So that's not an ad that's talking about like signing up for a free trial or whatever. It's pushing to content on his blog, and so this is a really powerful concept. And how does he know what to put on these ads? Well, the answer is actually very simple. You should be amplifying your best content. So you've already published your content organically, and there's sort of some of them have proven themselves to be very interesting articles, other of them less interesting, and so what you do is you just cherry pick the best articles, the ones that did 10 times better than the average article, and feature those in your display ads, the way that I did that analysis, by the way, is I didn't manually click through every page on my blog to figure which one got the most shares. I just used this free tool called BuzzSumo, www.buzzsumo.com. I just typed in my domain, and it automatically kind of calculates sort of which are the best articles for me to be sharing, or sorry, which articles are the best on social media previously, which would then inform which articles I should be featuring in my paid amplification efforts. Now, just one note here: you got to kind of steer clear of some of the newsy posts. You'd be better off focusing on some of the more evergreen posts that did well. So, for example, why eBay lost 80% of its organic rankings. That was our top performing article over the last few months. However, I think this one here, 9 headline writing tips for viral blog posts, might be a better candidate for content remarketing, just because it does seem to be a little bit more of a evergreen topic. The same with 3 super actionable keyword research tips to try right now. So guys, I noticed that from the poll that most of the people on the call here today are not full-time PPC marketers, and then maybe you're content marketers that are just haven't had any experience with PPC before, or are just getting started. And I just want to encourage you here, a little bit. I actually think that content marketers or inbound marketers make fabulous PPC marketers, and the reason is because of the success or failure of these efforts. It has everything to do with creativity, like how creative can you be in the ad copy, which compels people to click on those headlines. And I do a lot of paid search marketing, and I work with a lot of paid search folks, and I got to tell you, they're really smart people, but when it comes to their strengths and weaknesses, creativity on the ads isn't necessarily their biggest strength. So here I'm just showing you like a simple search result page for big data solutions, and what you can see is all 4 marketers here, from IBM and Intel, they all came up with more or less the same ad, like big data solutions. I call this an AdWords jackpot, because it kind of reminds me of when I'm in Vegas and I'm doing like the slot machines, and I hit a row of lucky sevens. Like here, I just hit a jackpot of 4 big data solutions. And so my point here is just to point out that you should be channeling your inner creative powers, all that link baity skills that you have to get your content on the front page of Reddit, or like those types of skills. You should be channeling those skills into your ads, and that should propel you to the top here. Basically, BuzzSumo, that company that I was just talking about earlier, they did some research into sort of what are the emotions that make people click on content, and it was like, amusement, laughter, awe. Those are actually the same emotions, like the same emotions that make people click on content, compel people to click on ads, and so in some ways this should be very easy, because you should already know which pieces of content did well, and you're merely looking to amplify your top 2 or 5% of content. So let's talk a little bit about bid strategies here, because like I said earlier, this is PPC marketing. It's a little different from social media marketing, a little different from SEO. How? Well, I think in SEO and social media, bigger is better. Bigger is better. You want to have like more retweets. You want to have more organic traffic to your site. Well, in paid search, it's actually the opposite. You're actually paying for these clicks, so you don't want to be paying for all the clicks. You want to be paying for the right clicks, right? So it's sort of more of a quality versus quantity game. So you have to be super picky and just cherry picking sort of the best clicks and not paying for everything. Otherwise, you'll just go bankrupt, or you'll waste all your ad spend. And so it's a little bit of a different game, chess versus checkers or whatever. And so the magic of how this works it has to do with sort of your bid strategy. And it's not just a matter of targeting all the people who visited your website. Like, everybody is not a demographic. You need to be a little bit more picky. And so here's where understanding your target persona, like who is your target buyer persona, where that comes in handy. So, for example, I happen to know that people who purchase WordStream come from like 7 different English-speaking countries, like Canada, USA, UK, Australia, New Zealand, etc. They tend to have a certain type of budget, a certain interests, etc., etc. So like the magic of this content remarketing is that we're not going after all of the clicks in the world. We're just going after the ones that match the target buyer for your business. And so there's a ton of different things that you can segment by. Actually, Google Display Network only has like a certain amount of them. Facebook has like 10 or 20 times more. This is called psychographic targeting, where you can further segment not only based on the fact that they visited your site or a specific page of your site, but also by their age, income, gender, interests, location, parental status, etc., etc. So I just want to drill this home, make sure that we all understand what the heck I just said there. This is how the magic of content remarketing truly works. So you're tagging people who visit to your website. And that's important because the fact that they visited your website, that is indicative, a strong indicator of high commercial intent, that there's a reason why they visited your site, probably because they were interested in something that you had to offer, and they found you through Facebook or Google Plus or organic search or whatever. So you tag them. You then filter that group of people based, which were the high-value pages or which were the topical pages that had high relevance to your product, and also then filter them based on the additional fact of their user demographics, like their income level, etc. Thereby, it's almost like you're finding the needle in the haystack here. It's magic, and it's this combination, the marriage of high commercial intent based on the fact that someone visited your site, past browsing history is the, one of the highest, strongest indicator of future purchasing intent. So that's married with the correct buyer persona match, and then that's the magic right there. That's how this works. So there's more ad formats than just the 14 image formats that I showed you earlier. I wanted to talk briefly about some of those. First has to do with YouTube ads. There's this thing called the TrueView ads. So a lot of content marketers have YouTube channels, and of course we would prefer to have more exposure on our YouTube channels rather than less exposure. Well, one way to do this is to do content remarketing on YouTube using TrueView ads. So how this works is you take those same audiences that you've defined, where you've segmented out sort of the buyer persona and the pages that they visit on your site. You can then target them, your YouTube clips, as they are watching cat videos on YouTube. And I'm only half joking here. This is a true story. I was trying to find, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. True story. I'm kind of a fan. But anyways, I was looking to catch up on a Ninja Turtles video here, and I got retargeted with some Italian tourist company video showing me the greatness of Venice. So what the heck happened here? Well, I was at the time that I took the screenshot. I was planning a trip to Italy. I was actually in Florence just a few weeks ago. And then that's just a couple hours from Venice. So I must have matched this company's demographics and previously visited their site, and so they smartly are trying to target me with this compelling ad. And by the way, not everyone knows this. If you click on skip ad, then you pay nothing. So like, it's only for people who've watched the full ad that you get charged for. If people skip the ad, there is no charge whatsoever. So TrueView ads on YouTube, people spend 6 billion hours on watching videos on YouTube every month. 6 billion hours is a lot of time, and so why not target your audience where they're spending time on. Just one other example from Google has to do with plus post ads on Google Plus. Now I don't use Google Plus a ton. I mean, I'm on Google Plus, but it's not my primary thing or anything. But I just thought it would be interesting to point out that there's this thing called post ads, plus post ads, and what that does is it highlights, like if you happen to be using Google Plus, it'll highlight your recent posts on websites. So it'll automatically create these nice ads and show them wherever people browse, like based on your audience and your targeting.
Hey, Larry, it sounds like we may have lost you for a minute. We'll just
Oh,
hold on. Oh,
sorry about that. So I don't know what the heck is going on here. There's some audio problems. I apologize, guys. But appreciate your patience. What was the last thing that you heard there?
I think we lost you right when we switched to the My Google Plus story.
Right. So what I was saying here is just simply that it's very simple. You just set this up in AdWords. You can set it up on autopilot where you just, if you're using Google Plus, you can set it up to promote the latest post. It'll create the ads for you automatically. And here's my story. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, I decided I was going to create some Google Plus, post engagement ads just to kind of revive my Google Plus company page because it was really a ghost town, not a lot of engagement, and so I set a budget of literally $20 per day, like $20. It's not not a huge amount of money, so $20 a day, and that really jump started the engagement of the page from almost nothing to tens of thousands of views per day. So I think that's really remarkable. And so what the heck is going on there? How the heck can you go from nothing to like 20,000 views per day based on $20? And so what's happening there is it's this flywheel effect going on. So there's this thing where you've got billions and billions of pieces of these status updates being pushed out every month, and so it's very noisy, and so sometimes you may have to pay $20 to kind of get some engagement on your contents, get it started, get the plus ones, the likes, the retweets or whatever, get that going, and then that generates organic engagement because now people are commenting on things or plus oneing it, which increases the visibility of the posts organically. So there's this really nice, I call it the flywheel effect, where a flywheel is one of those big wheels where it takes a lot of energy to kind of turn that crank and get that wheel going initially. But if you could just buy a few plus ones or whatever it is, retweets, then it gets easier. It kind of starts to move on its own and gather momentum. And so we've been talking a lot about Google Display Network, which is by far the biggest ad remarketing, content remarketing network. A close second place here would be Facebook. Facebook with their billion users, people spending so much time on Facebook. So of course you need to think about Facebook and how to get in front of them, especially given the organic post reach of your Facebook. Your posts are probably in low single digits at this point, and seemingly falling every month. So I'm sure this is nothing new. Where you have this option to boost the post, where you just click that button and it says something like add $20, and this is a trap. The guys, don't do this. Do not. I mean, if you've done this before, I apologize, but this is not a good way to go about boosting the visibility of your posts on Facebook. The reason why is because they're just trying to make it idiot-proof and make it very simple for people to throw money at the problem here. But when you look at it closely, it says audience. See where that red box is on the screen? It says it's going to show your content to people who like your pages and their friends. So that's the problem, like, and their friends. So like, consider like, I don't know, let's make this up. Say you have 200. The problem is that, like, if you have 100 fans, right, and you're targeting those 100 people and their friends, it means you're probably targeting like 10,000 people, of which 100 of them have expressed interest in you, and 9,900 of them haven't. Like, just because my wife liked a certain brand doesn't mean that I'm interested in that at all. So this is a trap. It's just, they're just trying to get you to spend your money. Don't click on that button. So what's the alternative? Well, up until recently, there wasn't actually an alternative, but about a year ago, they came out with this brilliant innovation called the post engagement ad. And I would definitely recommend looking into this rather than just promoting posts because of reasons that I just explained. But at a very minimum, you can be more picky. Remember, the whole point of the paid social is not to just, spend money. It's to spend it well and be very, very targeted. So the post engagement ads, very powerful format. You can be more picky with who you're picking, like only the people who've liked your page, and there could be like thousands of people who like your page. Maybe you even want to be more picky, like I'm only interested in certain age, gender, interests, behaviors, like early adopters, etc. So like this is very powerful, and you should be thinking about this instead, because like I was saying, like the people who are likely to engage with your posts are going to be, your fans, you're the people who've heard of you before. Where it gets even more powerful on Facebook, it has to do with this relatively new invention called custom audiences. And so this is so powerful for two reasons. First, you can create custom audiences based on people who visited your website, and that's similar to how Google AdWords works, like the Google Display Network works. But they have this other feature where you can create custom audience based on either emails or phone numbers. So if you already have, like WordStream, for example, has a list of prospects. I mean, we have a few thousand customers, but we have hundreds of thousands of prospects, like who've heard of us but haven't bought our software. So we then create these audiences based on their phone numbers and emails that we've collected, or even you can even be a little bit more ambitious. There are companies that will sell you, data like phone numbers and emails of people who you might want to reach out to who don't yet know about you. So you can create those audiences and target them very granularly. Another crazy idea is to be very picky, like create a small audience of influencers. Maybe there's 100 influential people in your industry that you want to make sure that they're kind of aware of what the heck is happening in your company. For a few dollars, you could create an audience called like super connectors, right? And just fill in the email addresses, and they'll subscribe to your updates regardless of whether or not they like your page. And that is very powerful because, as I mentioned to you before, one time this influential dude, he just liked one of my posts, posted it on his timeline, and boom, it just domino effect. It was just so powerful, and so you can be more deliberate. You can target those super connectors or influential people very deliberately, and that's very powerful. So just a couple differences between Facebook and the Google Display Network. I was mentioning earlier, wow, like Facebook has 10 or 20 times more granularity when it comes to that psychographic targeting, like age, and of course, but the interests and the behaviors. It's very, very granular, and it's worth looking into. Remember, it's not the game is to be picky, just the ones who are perfect for you, not everybody. So Facebook, it's definitely a big thing, totally worth looking into, as is the Google Display Network. Both will generate a ton of interest for your content. I wanted to briefly talk about Twitter and LinkedIn, because these are sort of popular social networks, although nowhere near in size as Google Display Network and Facebook. Starting with Twitter. So Twitter, they have this notion of promoted tweets, and it's very powerful because you can create and target those promoted tweets to either people who've visited your website, or you can create those custom lists based on the Twitter IDs or emails or just very tailored audiences that you think might be interested in your stuff and who might be willing to amplify your content. Very powerful, very similar to Facebook. Like I was saying earlier, a lot of these things work similarly. and you can set up a Twitter conversion pixel sort of tracking code on your website, and then and you can kind of include or exclude people based on where they visited your site, or you know, exclude customers or include customers, whatever you want. So very, very powerful stuff from Twitter. All this is very new, exciting stuff that has, you know, this one is maybe I think 3 months old. So you could definitely have an early mover advantage if you were to try out some of these things, maybe target the super connectors in your industry or whatever. LinkedIn is a bit of a disappointment. I'm going to be pretty honest with you. If you have a limited budget, I would actually advocate for just skipping LinkedIn, because like they don't even offer any retargeting capabilities natively. So you know, it's all based on just user entered data, like what their name is, like what their company is, their job title, their skills, etc. So there are some interesting use cases here where, like, you have a specific offering specifically for like CMOs or something like that, or you know, people with very, very particular sets of skills or whatever. You know, perhaps this could be interesting, but it's you know, there's no intent here. The magic of the content remarketing was that they were in the market for what you were pushing, and they match the demographics. Here it's just a demographic match without intent. Just because people have skills in SEO, it doesn't necessarily mean they're interested in your services at this moment in time. So that's LinkedIn. It's a little disappointing. Hopefully they improve. All right, so we're almost at the end of this presentation here. I wanted to talk briefly a little bit about how to pay for all this great stuff. Like, you know, it's got to come from somewhere, you know, like you have to pay for paid content promotion. Like, that's kind of by definition. Well, the good news is that you might be able to get it for free. What do I mean by that? Well, there are 4 million companies in the world who already advertise on PPC marketing, and they already have a budget. Your company that you're working for may already have a PPC marketing budget. It's entirely feasible, and if that is you, then I would be talking to those PPC managers and thinking, you know, kind of like thinking strategically, guys, like making the argument that perhaps the search budget should be extended and embracing sort of the content marketing efforts that you're doing. And if you were to make such an argument, here's kind of what I would say to them. I would say, PPC manager, did you know that the cost per click for Google search is very high, as much as 2 to 5 times as high as clicks on the display network? So you can get these clicks for cheaper. This has to do with the conversion rates by the industries. I would say PPC guy. And did you know that, you know, even though display is not as good as Google search, the conversion rates are comparable. Like they're pretty close. Usually not as good, but there are a few industries like autos and vehicles and travel where the conversion rate is higher in display, and the reason is because I think those are like luxury items, like, you know, go have this exotic vacation or buy this great car. I think they tend to do better with image ads than search ads, because you can better display the awesomeness of those products. And so, you know, when you marry the two, a lower cost per click with comparable conversion rates, you can get cost per leads that are, you know, similar, you know, more or less, you know, from search and display. And the greatest thing about this is you can just try it out. You know, paid search, PPC marketing, it's super data oriented, and you can measure everything, and there's no biases or guessing. You can just try it out and make a determination one way or the other. So that's kind of how I would package it if I was talking to kind of in a larger organization wanting to talk to the marketing folks about possibly extending PPC budget into content. But what if you don't have, and you know, strategically, I think this is a really good mix, like in terms of like how much of your paid search budget should be, you know, remarketing your content and your offers versus getting new traffic. I look at it as a 2/3, 1/3 kind of split, because because it's important to get new visitors in the door, of course, but equally important, you have to have some component of sort of converting the traffic that you're getting, and so that's what I'm thinking here. If you don't have the luxury of a big paid search budget that you can borrow from a friend in your organization, well then I would definitely be thinking of the content marketing budget that you have, and thinking about, like, well, I get a small increase in this next year. How should I be allocating it for maximum efficiency? Well, obviously you need to be spending money on creating content that's not free, and also promoting it socially on social media or through PR channels, but I would urge you to not ignore the paid content promotion channel, because of all the reasons that we've been talking about, how this is very leveraged, how it increases the visibility of the content that you've already produced. It's just thinking of it more holistically with a more strategic mix of the different activities as opposed to all or nothing. It's kind of like the sum would be greater than the whole would be greater than the sum of the parts, and so. Guys, we're almost at the end of our time today. I just wanted to conclude by saying there's a ton of content out there. Social, it just gets noisier and noisier every day. It might be worth, or I believe it's definitely worth stepping up and paying a little bit of money to make your content a little bit more visible, which can then make it a unicorn in a sea of donkeys out there. Just to summarize some of the key points that we've been talking about today, the great content, of course it's important. Of course you need great content, but it's not enough, because we were looking at how some content does great and other content doesn't do great. So the low-hanging fruit here being going after the people who've previously expressed interest in you by visiting your website. That combines the ability to go after a friendly audience with high commercial intent, plus going after the correct buyer demographics to buy a small number of clicks that will hopefully be very relevant to your business. And then this notion of just using the paid and organic social activities, I truly believe that they're better together, and if you're able to kind of communicate and coordinate these efforts, I think you'll find that there is a huge impact on the engagement of your content. So yeah, that's all I had here. Wanted to turn it over to our host, Zach. Do we have any questions from the audience today?
Thanks, Larry. We do have a few questions. The first one, and as a reminder, if you still have a question, feel free to type those into the chat or tweet us at #VMWebinar, and we can add those to the list. The first one is on kind of on the content creation side. What types of content do you find do particularly well with promotion?
Well, we actually talked about this earlier in the deck. It's the same articles that do well on social media. Like the ones that already did well will do even better if you give them a little bit of a push. So I would be looking at like you don't want to go too far back because there's like recency and all that. Like I would be looking at maybe your last 90 days of content or last 6 months, 3 to 6 months of content, and then trying to find the best articles that did the best on social media. Those are going to be also the ones that do well through paid promotion.
Great. Secondly, with regards to the budgeting, would it be better to put all of my budget towards the one low-hanging fruit network, which was Google retargeting or retargeting options, or should I spread it across a number of networks?
Well, the question, I would definitely cut Twitter and LinkedIn just because those technologies are very new and not very proven. It's a tough one because people spend more time on like YouTube and all those 2 million sites in the Google Display Network. They spend more time there than Facebook, but Facebook has stronger network effects. What I mean by that is like those when you like the edge rank for the posts. Like when you buy those those likes and comments on the posts for your Facebook, it exponentially increases the visibility of those posts. So I think it really depends on like your business. Like if you happen to have no substantial presence on Facebook, then yeah, probably Google Display Network is a better match because it doesn't require that you have a Facebook presence, and vice versa. Like if you have a pretty big following on Facebook, why not amplify that, because you're probably only getting through to like 3, 4, 5% of them these days with the limited engagement that Facebook is offering us.
Great. It looks like we're going to have time for one or possibly two more here. Here's a bit more advanced question for you, Larry. For Google retargeting, is it better to use the Google Analytics lists or retargeting lists straight from AdWords?
It's the same thing now. I mean, they've combined them. So if you have an AdWords account and you've linked it to your Google Analytics, then you can just build lists directly in AdWords using the codes from Google Analytics. It's relatively new, like within the last few months.
Great, and it looks like we've had a couple questions surrounding privacy, and specifically relevant to cookies. How do ad blockers affect retargeting, and what happens if a user disables or deletes cookies?
So these advertising companies are smart. They are not only basing it on cookies, but rather there's like another layer. Like they remember, like they can still target you if you have cookies disabled, and the way that they can do that is because a lot of people happen to be logged in. So you could be logged into Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus, and so they can kind of figure out who you are, you know, based on the being logged in. So yeah, it's not just a matter of blocking cookies. There's like all these workarounds so that they can still track you. Like I have a what would I call it? Like if I run my browser, Chrome, in the incognito mode, I still get retargeted things. So
great, and it looks like one final question here. What about Reddit?
Reddit is definitely a interesting paid promotional channel. The problem with that is I found it's not very scalable. So like they don't have a ton of inventory. Like so the way that Reddit works is there's like different channels, and you can purchase impressions at a cost per impression. You can buy ad space on a cost per impression basis for different channels, but these individual channels, they might not have a ton of inventory. Like it could be like, I don't know, 5,000 page views a month or something like this, and because there's so little inventory, it's like there's a waiting list. You have to like, I tried to buy some space on like Big SEO or something like that, and it was they said like, yeah, sure, we'll sign you up in November. It's like, if you're getting a lot of traffic from there, I definitely would consider it. Although it's not as easy to manage because of the kind of the constraints there. It seems like kind of like a side thing for them, you know.
Those are great insights, and I think that I can second that opinion there. Again, I'm Zach Etten, and from all of us at Vertical Measures, thank you so much, Larry, for taking your time and presenting today, and thank you all for attending. I hope everyone has a great day.
Thanks, guys.